I will be taking some liberties with this mock draft. As you can tell from the title, if I put it in there, maybe it's not in there, doing a 2-round mock draft. First 2-round mock draft of the year. The Senior Bowl just happened and we learned a lot of new information, and some of that will be reflected in this 2-round mock draft. And I will be taking some liberties, right? And I'll be explaining everything as we go, but there are going to be some quote unquote like shock picks in here. But you got to remember, it is February. It's February 7th as this is going to be posted. So like a lot's going to change from now until the draft, which is about 3 months away. So with the first pick, the Jaguars have a couple of interesting situations and different players to consider. And I'm going to go ahead and slot in Ike Ekwonu here as the #1 overall pick. I think there are a number of different possibilities with this pick now. And I think the Jags are going to opt to take a tackle. It's a little bit weird with the edge rushers and positional value and things like that. Maybe the Jags would even look to trade out of this pick in real life, but we're going with maybe the best tackle in the draft. And if your whole idea going into the draft is prepare for the future, which the Jags are going to want to do, you got to protect Trevor Lawrence. And I think Ekwonu accomplishes that. If you're going for more of a pure pass protector, Ekwonu maybe isn't the best fit, but Neal isn't either. So if you're looking at maybe the best pure pass protecting tackle in the draft, it's probably Charles Cross. I don't think he's going to go #1 overall. I think he'd probably opt for the best of both worlds, and I think that is Ekwonu. Neal is a really, really good athlete. There are some technical questions regarding his game, and this is the first real liberty I'm taking in this draft. At #2 overall, I'm going with Malik Willis. He was the biggest riser in the Senior Bowl, and that's going to be the first shock pick that has people shaking their heads, and I'm totally fine with that. But here's the way I would rationalize it. And by all accounts, Malik Willis was not only like incredible on field, showcasing the upper echelon potential and talent, but teams like the Steelers and Mike Tomlin reportedly enamored with Malik Willis, and all signs showed that he would not be available near pick 20. So is this a little bit high for Malik Willis? I think, yeah, without question. I think it's a little high. But if you're banking on his potential, on the player that he could be, that type of player goes high in the draft. Quarterbacks go high in the draft. And to the Lions, it's kind of the perfect situation for him because you still have Jared Goff under contract. He's not going to be pressured to play right away. In fact, he will not play right away. And he probably doesn't even have to play for 2 years if you don't want him to. So get him into a situation where you can develop him. And if the Lions with 2 first-round picks want to take a flyer, want to take a shot on their potential future franchise guy, I'm okay with going for upside. Yeah, it might not work. You run that risk. We've seen quarterbacks and obviously other positions bust all the time. But I don't know if teams are going to be all on board the Josh Allen train of taking kind of a raw player and hoping that you can develop them into a star. But if the Lions can be like, you know what, it worked for them, it can work for us, we're going to take the highest upside player in the draft, I think this could happen. Now, if Malik Willis could go at 6, right, or could go at 9 or 11 or any of these spots, why couldn't he go at 2? So that's kind of what I'm going with there. As we get to the Texans, and this is a tough spot, I kind of want to go Evan Neal. Just secure the offensive line. Davis Mills has kind of flashed a little bit. I'm not sure that you need to even consider quarterback in this draft. In fact, I wouldn't. For a team with so many flaws as the Texans have, I wouldn't consider quarterback at all. He can still be your bridge guy if you're not confident, but he made some plays last year and looked really good for a rookie quarterback. If I had to grade the rookie QBs based on performance, yeah, Davis Mills wasn't drafted in the top 4, but he certainly was top 4 in performance, like without question. I think you probably have Mac Jones 1, and then it's a toss-up for number 2. And based on the way that Davis Mills played down the stretch, you could put Davis Mills at number 2, and I'd be like, all right, that's fair. I don't know if I'd necessarily have that, but that's fair. Zach Wilson played good down the stretch. Trevor Lawrence had a couple good games. Justin Fields, had a couple good games in there. It's kind of tough, but I could definitely see Davis Mills in that conversation for one of the top quarterbacks last year for rookies. But what do they do at 3? Do you take best player available? Maybe it's Aiden Hutchinson. It's probably Kyle Hamilton. But do you value a safety with this spot? They are just simply best player available. But I really want to build the foundation of the team. So we're going to go ahead and select Evan Neal here as we get to the Jets at number 4. A little bit weird, right? Because you probably expect at least Aiden Hutchinson or Kayvon Thibodeau to be off the board at this point. But instead, it's both tackles. So who did the Jets go with at number 4? Well, I think it's probably going to be Aiden Hutchinson with the way this particular board has fallen. Really good player, maybe the best player in the draft. Don't think that's, telling any tales out of school there. Hutchinson is a really, really good player, really good hands, freak athlete. And going into Robert Saleh's defense, you could have a really, really good player. And I like the Jets front 4 already, by the way. I do. But the top 2 tackles are off the board, right? And you're just taking best player available. I like John Franklin Myers a lot. I love Carl Lawson, who didn't play at all last year due to injury. But if you can get a really, really, really good edge rusher, and you can move a guy like John Franklin Myers inside sometimes, and have Hutchinson more of that like potential move around guy, hybrid rusher that I don't know, I want to call him a rover, but a guy that can kind of move around. I don't know that you want to call him a pass rush specialist, but you can do a number of different things with your defense. You get some flexibility, and this is just best player available that you probably didn't think you were going to have a shot at, but maybe in real life you'd trade down in this situation and try to pick up Cross or, something like that. In this scenario, it doesn't work out, and they just go BPA. And I think the Giants are probably in a similar situation, and we're going to punch the ticket for Kayvon Thibodeau. Now, we're pretty used to seeing Kayvon Thibodeau go number 1 or number 2 or number 3 at this point. There are some concerns, not only with injury, but with ankle tightness, which is really important for edge bend. And then certain maturity issues as well have kind of come up. Effort. A lot of these things are coming to the forefront right now. And that's not to say that Thibodeau is going to fall outside the top 10, like we saw with Laramie Tunsil on the night of the draft with the bong gas mask incident. It's not like that. Thibodeau is right up there with Malik Willis for some of the highest potential in the draft. But based off of how close some of these guys are in talent, I'm not sure that this is far-fetched to see Thibodeau go at 5. Now, could he go at 1? Certainly still in play. But I think all these guys are close in terms of skill and potential. And this draft kind of has a lack of upper echelon blue chip prospects, which means you can see a lot of variation. And I know the comment section is going to be like, oh, you just want Kayvon Thibodeau for the Giants. And yeah, I'd be happy with the pick. But that doesn't mean I wouldn't be happy with Aiden Hutchinson or Kyle Hamilton or Ike Mekwonu or Evan Neal, right? So it's just kind of the way it gets drawn up. I think people want to think, oh, you don't draft well for the Eagles because you hate them, or you draft who you want for the Giants. I draft what I think is going to happen, plus what I think they should do. It's a combo. I don't take any stock in a virtual make-believe mock draft that I'm doing as, oh, if I do this, it'll certainly happen in real life. It's not about that. You got to dispel that right away. As we get to the Carolina Panthers at 6, another weird spot. I think it's tackle, or I think it's quarterback. Now, here's the thing, because it is February, we don't know what's going to change. So we don't know if the Panthers are going to go out there and get a bridge quarterback. If they're going to somehow trade for one, maybe it's Jimmy Garoppolo, maybe it's a free agent quarterback, maybe Jameis Winston. If they still have Sam Darnold and Cam Newton on roster going into the draft, this is a team that could take a quarterback. And I think that certainly would be in play here. Kenny Pickett had a good week at the Senior Bowl as well. Is maybe the best quarterback in the draft and will elevate that team. And the Panthers are really not that bad. They're closer to being a quarterback away than anything else. The offensive line's not great. Certainly need to address that in either free agency or the second round of the draft at this point, but we're going to be doing that. It's a 2-round mock draft. Pickett's good. You got some weapons there. Love DJ Moore. I like the potential of Tommy Tremble. Obviously, there are questions with Christian McCaffrey's durability and health. Robbie Anderson's in there. You have some potential. You got some good players. So that offense could be doing some things with Kenny Pickett. Really could be. Giants back on the board at 7. I think you really want Neal or Ekwonu there at 5. But I think you'd be happy with Charles Cross here at 7. Now, it's not exactly like amazing value. I know there are guys like Daniel Jeremiah that have him at the back end of the first in terms of true talent on the big board. I think he's like 27 or something like that. I like Charles Cross a little bit more than that, just because he has so much history pass protecting. Mike Leach, air raid offense. It is only pass protection pretty much. So we know he can do that, and that's been a big problem for the Giants. So I like the pick. Now, my heart wants to take Kyle Hamilton, but the brain says you have to upgrade the offensive line at all costs, and we're going to go Charles Cross. But I think the Falcons would be really happy with the way this has worked out. Could be an edge rusher as well. Jermaine Johnson was the best player at the Senior Bowl. He was dominant. So dominant, in fact, that he didn't even come out for the final day of practice or the game. He's like, I was the best player here. I boosted my stock. Everyone saw what I could do. It's not even a question anymore. So he just didn't even participate through the rest of the Senior Bowl activities. So this is a player that's going to go pretty high. I think Ajabo's potential with how good Jermaine Johnson is, Trayvon Walker's flexibility. I've had Trayvon Walker high for a while now. I've kind of caught some flack for that, but watch him play and you're going to totally understand it, especially if you consider all the different positions he can play, right? And I've talked about it before, where he's a guy that's probably a true 5 tech. This got misconstrued in my big board video. 5 tech, outside shade of the tackle, right? On the outside. But he's a guy who can move inside. Not 5 tech at that point. It could be a 4-eye. That could maybe even be a 3 tech in some crazy scenarios. If it's like 3rd and long, you want to move him inside. He can also play off the ball. He's athletic enough to be able to do that. Not routinely. You don't want to do that. It's kind of a waste of his ability, but he's really good out in space. So if you want to have him, with some hybrid blitz packages, he has to drop back into coverage. He's going to be fine out there for a 6'5", 270-pound player, which you can't really say about a lot of guys. And George Karlaftis obviously in the conversation as well at that spot. There are a bunch of really, really good edge rushers, but I think we're going to go Kyle Hamilton. He's just so good. And I mean, I could see him going even earlier than this, much earlier. He could go to the Texans. He could go to the Jets at that spot. He could go to the Giants with either of these picks. Probably not the Panthers, but Kyle Hamilton's just so good. Huge safety. I think he's like 6'4", 230, 6'4", 220. He could bulk up a little bit, play linebacker if you wanted him to. He's that much of a freak, but he's also really good in coverage. He's like, if you need to play single high, which I guess not a lot of teams are doing anymore, Hamilton can do it. And he's just a really good player. You can move him around. Field safety, boundary safety, get creative. He can do it all. Awesome in run D as well as coverage. So this is the safety prospect of the past while. Like, it feels like every year we get a guy, this is the best of this position we've seen in forever. And that was maybe like Myles Garrett or Chase Young, or any of the Bosa's were kind of comparable, right? Or Kyle Pitts last year. Well, Kyle Hamilton is the best safety we've seen for quite some time. So he's guaranteed top 10, I think, even as a safety. And we get to the Broncos at 9. I think they would be a little bit annoyed that both quarterbacks are off the board. And I think this will be a team that finds a quarterback in free agency or via trade. But that doesn't mean they wouldn't take quarterback in this mock draft, because we don't know that they're going to do that in free agency or with a trade. So quarterback is on the board here, but I don't know if we want to take Matt Corral here. I think with the amazing edge rushers on the board, I think we might opt to do that instead. And listen, we're going to go Senior Bowl riser here, and we are going to go Jermaine Johnson. He was amazing, and he's already probably the best run defending edge in the class. I think I can say that pretty confidently. Sets a mean edge, really, really good at the point of attack. And it was just kind of more about developing as a true pass rusher. Despite having pretty decent numbers this past season, he showed that he can do a number of different things as a pass rusher and was dominant in the one-on-ones. This is a player that absolutely could go top 10 after his performance at the Senior Bowl, without question. Jets on the board at number 10. And man, You know who I wanted to take was a guy that they've been linked to. Apparently, the Jets really love Drake London, and I don't blame them. 6'5", moves like he's a lot shorter than that. He's really, really quick for somebody as big as he is. Played a lot of big slot at USC, but can also play on the outside. If you're drafting him, you're probably drafting a true X receiver. That's what you're going for. But I really want to take a tackle for them because we couldn't at number 4 because Evan Neal was off the board. So what do? Do you reach on Penning or Bernard Ryman? I don't really know that you do. I think you're kind of in a tough spot with the way the tackles have kind of flown off the board. Would you be more comfortable taking one in the second round? Because you still pick pretty high in the second round. I don't know if you want to necessarily reach on a tackle at this point. I think it's a little bit early for Trevor Penning. I think the earliest we probably see him go is number 14 to the Ravens. I think it's a little bit early. So what do you do if you're the Jets? Kind of in a tough spot. I think they might just go best player available, and that could be Derek Stingley Jr. There's a conversation to be made for that. I kind of like their corners though, but banking on the upside of Derek Stingley Jr. I think makes a lot of sense. He's a really, really good athlete, and yeah, the past couple seasons at LSU, you're not getting a top 10 pick in the draft type player. You're just not. Injuries, effort, not great. However, you could say he was coasting. That's the thing. As a freshman, he might be the best freshman corner that we've seen in college football for the past decade. And that's not hyperbole. He was that good. And you don't really see freshmen be that good ever. He was the best DB in the nation probably as a freshman. And he didn't even win the Thorpe Award for best DB in the nation. Should have. He was the best. So if you're getting that player, he's certainly worth a top 10 pick. I think the Jets could pull the trigger in this situation. They went all offense pretty much last draft, and I would have wanted to consider that in this one, but I didn't really feel comfortable taking Cross at 4, and I don't really feel like there's a tackle worth taking at number 10. I feel like the Jets were just kind of in a weird situation here, and we just decided to go a double up on defense. I could really see this being Neal or Aquanu if available. In this spot being a receiver, maybe it's Garrett Wilson, maybe it's Drake London, maybe it's somebody else. But it's Derek Stingley in this mock draft. Getting a little bit weird as we move on to Washington football team at 11. And they're not even Washington football team anymore. They are the Washington Commanders. Gonna have to get used to that one, especially being in the Giants division, NFC East. I'm gonna go Matt Corral. New franchise. Not really, but kind of. Get a new franchise signal caller in Matt Corral. This is a team that really isn't bad either, but kind of a quarterback away. Defense has to improve. They have the players there, just have to play better. And the offense, you brought in Curtis Samuel. Injuries really held him back. You have Terry McLaurin. The offensive line needs work. But take a shot on Matt Corral. He could be your guy. Heavy RPO system at Ole Miss. You kind of don't know exactly what you're getting, but I think some teams are going to be happy on his upside. He's got a pretty strong arm. He's pretty athletic. Durability will be a question with him, will be a concern because he does have a history of injuries. And it's not even that. It's more so that he plays kind of a reckless game. And that's scary for a lot of teams because injury concerns come along with playing a reckless game. And, he's not going to be useful to you if he's not playing. But we're taking a shot on Corral there for the Washington Commanders. And that brings up the Vikings at 12. And we're going to punch the ticket on corner here with Sauce Gardner. I think Sauce Gardner could go before Derek Stingley Jr., by the way. He moves really well for someone as big as he is. He's about 6'2", 6'3". Huge corner, but really quick hips, flies open. And if you want to look at the stat sheet, he can back it up. I don't think he's ever allowed a touchdown in his career at Cincinnati. Probably should have won the Thorpe Award this year over his teammate Kobe Bryant, who played well, but Sauce Gardner's just better, just wasn't even thrown at because he's so locked down. Certainly worthy of a top 15 selection. Could go even higher than this, but the Vikings who need corner pretty badly will take Sauce Gardner, Ahmad Gardner at 12. Browns at 13. We're going receiver. We're going Treylon Burks. Really, really good player. I like Garrett Wilson still as receiver 1. I've done Garrett Wilson to the Browns a lot, so we're going to mix it up. We're going Treylon Burks. I like Treylon Burks as a player a lot. He's kind of like an even bigger A.J. Brown in kind of that same Deebo Samuel body type. I think you're going to hear that a lot coming up into the draft because he's built like a running back, but he's also 6'3". He's huge, but he can fly. He's going to test really well. I think probably sub 4.5, maybe even like, I don't want to say sub. I don't think he's going to run sub 4.4. That'd be crazy, but he's a really, really good athlete. And maybe he could run high 4.3. The guys are just doing that nowadays, but I think he's going to be in the 4.4 range, maybe 4.44. Give me that just straight line. And you don't really see that for someone of his body type. If he runs sub 4.5, it's a huge win. And I think he can do it. If you watch him play when he gets up to that top speed, which could be a question in the 40, but he can separate. Treylon Burks could be the first receiver off the board, especially with the way we saw the 49ers utilize Deebo Samuel this past year and, you know, how good A.J. Brown is. As we get to the Ravens at 14, they could take a number of different things. They really could. I kind of want to go Trevor Penning here, but the allure of teaming up David Ojabo with his former high school teammate Odafe Owe is just too much for me to pass up for the storyline, and they also really desperately need edge. Ojabo has, again, some of the highest potential of any player in this class. He is a freak athlete, and we're going to see that hopefully on the combine, or in the combine. In that 40, 10-yard split should be insane. He's as explosive as edge rushers get. He's going to be insane if coached up. And we've seen the Ravens take some of these developmental edge rusher guys, not really in the first. Odafe Owe kind of broke the mold. I think maybe Terrell Suggs was the only first-round edge rusher they took in that window. Could be missing a guy for sure. Don't think that I am. But they can coach these guys up in a big way. And Ajabo's got big time potential. Really could use help on defense. You got a bunch of big free agents. I think you might be losing Calais Campbell. I think you might be losing Derek Wolfe. And I mean, Tyus Bowser is not an edge. So you need a true second edge on the other side of Ajabo. And the high school teammate storyline, like, are you kidding me? I could not do that. As we get to the Eagles at 15. Eagles in an interesting situation. And they could pick back to back. What do you do here if you're Philly? Well, I want to go linebacker, receiver, edge, corner. Those are kind of the things I'm interested in for the Eagles if I was drafting. And they have a bunch of really, really good options here. Bunch of amazing players still on the board. I'm going to take Devin Lloyd with their first pick. Could be the best linebacker in the draft. Nakobe Dean right there. But I'm going Devin Lloyd. A little bit bigger, still great in coverage. Lloyd is a really fun player. And then for the Eagles at 16, picking back to back, we could go Garrett Wilson. And that's probably where I'm leaning. A bunch of corners still available, but do you think the Chargers or Saints are going to take one? Maybe the Saints could, but the Chargers probably not. Chargers could take a receiver. Saints could take a receiver. We're going receiver, and we're going with Garrett Wilson. I still think he's the best receiver in the draft. Really, really like him. Physical, despite not being super big. He's about 6 foot tall, but fairly physical. And I mean, Jameson Williams, I love, but he scares me with the ACL. Really scares me, but I think he could have the highest potential of any receiver in the draft. But injury is a bit of a question. Still really like him as a player. We're going with Garrett Wilson to 16 though. And that sets up the Chargers to do what I've been doing like every draft, but it just makes way too much sense for them. We're going Jordan Davis. Their run stopping game is horrible, and they need a true, like, monster on the nose, right? So play right over the center, eat up blocks, hold the center, hold the guard, two gap if you want. He actually is athletic enough to be able to get pass rush as well for a guy that's 6'6", 330. He's a monster of a man. And he's exactly what the Chargers need. If they don't want to go nose tackle at this point, I think Nakobe Dean would be in play as well. And if you can't retain Mike Williams, I think receivers in play as well. But we're going with Jordan Davis considering he's still on the board at 17. This is usually the range we see nose tackles going if they're at the top of the class. Vita Vea went like 12th to the Bucks a few years ago, and Dexter Lawrence went to the Giants at like 17, 18 a few years ago. But the Saints on the board at number 18. Saints could go a bunch of different directions. They really, really could, including quarterback. There's no telling that you're going to be able to keep Jameis Winston. Got a new head coach in Dennis Allen, as it's so crazy Sean Payton's gone. That's going to take a lot to get used to with Dennis Allen being the new head coach of the Saints. Could go quarterback. The Saints are in a really, really weird spot. I would call them in a transitional period where I think they might get a lot worse before they get better. Salary cap situation continues to be bad. Could see some players get traded. I like their offensive line, though. They really desperately need receiver. But I think in a class where there are a lot of talented receivers, you don't have to take one at 18. And we're going to pull the trigger and go Sam Howell at 18. No telling if he'll go in the first round or not. I think it's a possibility. Ritter looked fairly good at the Senior Bowl. Not amazing, but fairly good. He could certainly be the third quarterback off the board, or even earlier, right? We've actually gone, this is a fourth quarterback already. Quarterbacks go high, though. It's just kind of what happens. It's the most valuable position in football, and all these teams need quarterback. All these teams have big question marks at quarterback, and we've certainly not even addressed QB for teams that could take one as well. But Eagles back on the clock after the Saints went Sam Howell. We've gone receiver. We've gone linebacker. Could go corner. Certainly could go corner. Could go edge. Bunch of really good edge rushers available. Love Trayvon Walker. Love George Karlaftis. This is a good range for them. You know what? And I think with Karlaftis on the board at 19, I think the Eagles probably would pull the trigger. Really good player. Is a good athlete. I don't want to say sneaky athlete, but I think because there's so much hype about Aiden Hutchinson being a great athlete and Kayvon Thibodeau and, you know, Jermaine Johnson, David Ojabo in particular being great athletes, even Trayvon Walker, Karlaftis is probably going to test well, but I don't think he's going to be in that upper echelon. So we kind of just say, oh, you know, he's a fine athlete, but I think he's a really good athlete. Also, great, powerful hands, a lot of pop, and placement is spectacular. Karlaftis, certainly worthy of a first-round selection as we get to the Steelers at 20. And you know what? We're going to go with Trevor Penning here. He is actually a really nice guy. He really is. But on the field, he is not at all. He is mean. I feel like he fits the Steelers brand of football we kind of all have in our head. It's like the Steelers are tough. The steel curtain, I know that's not the offensive side of the ball. Just like they got that kind of punch you in the mouth brand of football. They want to run the ball. They got Najee Harris. Quarterback's a big question right now. This could be a spot for quarterback. No question. But we're going Trevor Penning, maybe the best tackle on the board, as we get to the Patriots at 21. Now, if Nakobe Dean went earlier, this is Devin Lloyd. Patriots love their size at linebacker, but he's not there. So what do you do if you're the Patriots? I think you take your next J.C. Jackson, and that's Andrew Booth Jr. Ball skills for days. Loves to force a good turnover. I mean, he flies at the ball like a receiver at times. And J.C. Jackson's a turnover machine. Booth is still developing as a player. But if you're going to have two turnover machines on each side of the field, I kind of like that for the Patriots, who need to address corner, especially with J.C. Jackson's contract and the rest of that cornerback room. I think we see the Patriots take a corner in one of the top two rounds. We're going to go here at 21. As we get to the Raiders at 22, it's offensive line or defensive line. That's where I am. Receiver can be a round two thing. And Kenyon Green being available feels like a steal. I like Linderbaum here. I really do, with him still being available. However, there's certain guys that like Andre James. Linderbaum can move, man. He's kind of like Rodney Hudson in that way. Probably even quicker than Rodney Hudson. And he was obviously a really good center for the Raiders for a number of years. Man. Talk me out of Linderbaum. You can't. I'm going Tyler Linderbaum at 22. I think listen, he might be one of the best centers we've seen in the draft for a while, but he also still is a center. It's not a traditionally super valued position, even though it's so important on the offensive line. You want your quarterback of the offensive line to be, that signal caller, that guy who can process and make the rest of the offensive line better. And Linderbaum is that player, worth the first round pick. Could go even earlier to the right team. As we get to the Cardinals at 23, it's corner to me here. I could be talked into Trayvon Walker, but it's corner. I'm reuniting the Washington guys. I don't even think they were ever teammates, but Byron Murphy, Washington corner. They might have had 1 year overlap, but I don't think so. But 2 Washington corners on the same team. They already have Budda Baker. This is the UW South with the Cardinals. We're going to have a complete Washington team by the end of it. Now, I don't know the talent's there, but listen, they're going to trade back up. They're going to get Kyler Gordon, and they're going to be fine. And they already have Kyler Murray. Maybe this is Kyler Gordon. Although, weird report surfacing of Kyler Murray being unhappy in Arizona, taking the Cardinals out of his Instagram page and unfollowing them on Instagram. Listen, I'm not in with the high school crap and saying, oh man, Kyler Murray's going to get traded because he unfollowed them on Instagram. I don't care at all, but it's a story right now for some reason. As we get to the Cowboys at 24, I've been Daxton Hill to the Cowboys forever. I keep doing it. I'm going to keep doing it. I don't know what to tell you, man. I think Daxton Hill is worthy of a first round pick. Can play slot corner. Played corner in high school. Is going to test really well. Is really good on film. What else do you want? Other than Kyle Hamilton here, I think he might be the only safety worthy of first round consideration. And I like Lewis Seen, Jaquan Brisker, Jalen Petrie. I do. I mean, you can scroll down the board. I like Verone McKinley quite a lot, right? Bubba Bolden was someone who was decent a couple of years ago, but the big question marks with him. Like, this is a decent safety class, and it did lose some juice with certain guys going back to school, Jordan Battle, but I think some of these guys are going to go second round. Probably not the first, but Daxton Hill, I think, does sneak into the first. As we get to the Bills at 25, I don't think you hesitate with this one. Kenyon Green on the board. You go Kenyon Green. They need guard. Kenyon Green. Too many injuries for the Buffalo Bills offensive line. You got to protect Josh Allen. I say that kind of like in a joking way because he doesn't protect himself. He plays as physical as any quarterback, right? But you don't want him getting sacked. You want the offense to have time to let routes develop, get guys down the field. Kenyon Green's going to help out with that. Also, he'll really help in the run game too. You want to get Devin Singletary going. As we get to the Titans at 26. Could be Nakobe Dean. Could be. I think I'd rather go offense here. Jamison Williams being available at this spot feels like too good a value to pass up. And we know the Titans are not afraid to take a flyer on a guy with an injury concern. But he doesn't really have an injury history. It's just tore his ACL. That's going to happen sometimes. I hate to say it. But guys bounce back from that the way they didn't used to. And it's not like he's Caleb Farley, who has a big injury history. Long history. Williams just has an incident, but is still a great player. And with Julio Jones kind of being in question mark, then even so, like, do you really want to have Nick Westbrook-Akina be your number 2 after Julio? I don't think so. We're going offense. Could be tackle. Could be a number of different things. Could be a quarterback, on a real dark shot of that. But Williams is just so good going receiver. As we get to the Bucks at 27. Trayvon Walker still available. Kind of want to do it. I love Devontae Wyatt. I've been hyping him up. But Perry and Winfrey had an unreal Senior Bowl. Was awesome in practice all week. Was awesome in the game. And I'm starting... I've been saying this, but I like this interior defensive line class. Maybe he doesn't have those top-end guys, but has a bunch of really good players. Devontae Wyatt. Leal has big-time potential, even if he didn't show it last year at A&M. Winfrey. Travis Jones was awesome at the Senior Bowl. I've been big on Fedarian Mathis for a couple years now, ever since watching Christian Barmore on film and being like, where's Christian Barmore? Why isn't he on the field? And it's Fedarian Mathis making plays. So I'm going to go Perry and Winfrey, but I think you're going to see a lot of these interior defensive linemen go inside the top 50 as we get to the Packers at 28. I don't know why I have him dropping this far. I view him very highly as a player. Just decided to go Jermaine Johnson earlier and Ajabo and then Karlaftis, and then this is the next edge off the board. I think Trayvon Walker goes a lot earlier than this, but this is where he ends up here, number 28 to the Packers. Really good player. I don't want to say Zadarius Smith, but we know how the Packers love these edge rushers that can do a bunch of different things. Look at Zadarius Smith. Look at Rashawn Gary. They love their versatility with their defensive linemen / outside linebackers, and Trayvon Walker is exactly what they're looking for. And yeah, they're never taking a receiver for Aaron Rodgers first round. Like, you'll figure it out. I think Rodgers will stay in Green Bay. I still don't think they take offense, at least not receiver. They just don't do that. So why would I have them do that when they don't do that? I think they should, but they probably won't. Now the Dolphins picking at 29. This is from the 49ers. Keep in mind, this is the Dolphins' first pick of the draft. They did very well last season, I believe. Or when I say I believe, it's not like, oh, if I can remember correctly, but more I think. Like, it's my feeling. Love Jalen Waddle, love Jalen Phillips, love Javon Holland. They drafted all three of them. I was gonna say both, but there's three. I like the Dolphins draft a lot. And now here they are in an interesting spot. I want to take a tackle for need. I don't know that I'm going to be able to get talked out of that, and I probably shouldn't. I think it's got to be Daniel Fa'alele. I think it just has to be. Right tackle, blindside protector for Tua. Got to invest in the offensive line. Their current moves have not necessarily worked out. I want to take a receiver. I do. Man, I think Drake London's going to go earlier than this too. But if he's available to the Chiefs at 30, wow. I mean, it's got to be. How are you going to cover all of these weapons for the Chiefs? 6'5" Drake London, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman, and then you have the running backs out of the backfield. Jerick McKinnon looked great down the stretch. It just feels like too good to pass up, and I do think London goes earlier. I'll tell you, when I did this the first time, just trying to map out what I wanted to do, I had Drake London at 10. I had Neal going to the Jets at 4. I had Hutch 3, but I decided to swap it, and this is the culmination of that. London falls 20 more spots than where I had him the first time. Bizarre, but it's what ended up happening. Bengals at 31, Zion Johnson. It's got to be, I feel like. Got to upgrade offensive line. He actually took center snaps at the Senior Bowl. Did a lot of center work after practice, staying late as well. So this is a guy that wants to be an NFL player regardless of position. And the Bengals are kind of like, well, we need offensive line regardless of position. So they're going to draft him. Zion Johnson at 31. And then the Lions at 32 went with Malik Willis earlier. A bold pick. Nakobe Dean's there at 32. I mean, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to. So there goes Nakobe Dean. Last pick of the first round. I really like him as a player. I think he goes higher than this. But I can't have every player in the draft both rise and think they go higher than this and have the quarterbacks. It's just the chaos of the draft, but that's part of what makes it fun, right? As we get to the Jaguars at 33, what do the Jags do? It's a good question. I kind of want to go Jalen Petrie here, but edge has just been such a weird spot for them, with Josh Allen being really good and Kayvon Chason being the opposite of that, probably. So what do we want to do here? Well, Boye Mafe looked amazing at the Senior Bowl, looking like a first or second round talent. He could go high. Sam Williams was ultra productive last season at Ole Miss. And then JJ, Kingsley Enigbare was awesome at the Senior Bowl as well. Arnold Ebiketie, same deal. Myjai Sanders, same deal. Logan Hall is more of an IDL type guy. He's like that hybrid. Like, I think he can play 5 tech. I think he can shade inside. I think he's going to be a guy that, if you think of the way the Panthers play defense, and a lot of teams, it's that, you know, that Rams defensive front, where the 4-eye position, which is the inside shade of the tackle, is so important to make those defenses work and really just set up the run fills for linebackers behind. That's Logan Hall. He's your 4-eye defender. That's what I think. But got to go to the right fit if a team even wants to play him in that role. But I wouldn't call him an edge, and I don't know that I would call him a D tackle. He's kind of a tweener. He's a big guy, but he's 275, which you don't really see 6'6", 275 playing interior defensive line too often, unless the guy like slides inside. I'm not going Logan Hall here. I don't know what I want to do for the Jaguars. Cam Thomas is in that same boat, by the way. He's 6'5", 270. I don't know that I'd really call him an edge. He's kind of like the hybrid guy. I'm not making a Morgan Fox comparison, but same type of position potential. What did the Jags do? Took tackle earlier. Who's best player available at this point? I think I'm going to take a receiver for the Jags. I kind of want to go Christian Watson. I don't think it's too high either. He was awesome at North Dakota State, awesome at the Senior Bowl. And this guy, you're going to be shocked. 6'5", over 200 pounds, returns kicks. We don't see that. That doesn't happen. You know who returns kicks? Calvin Austin, your little 5'9", 165. That's who returns kicks. You know who else returns kicks? Sky Moore, Wan'Dale Robinson. These guys are sub 5'11". You got Christian Watson at 6'5" back there as a return man. Nuts. But he's good. That just is you know, it tells you how good of an athlete he is. I'm going receiver. Am I going to go and take Christian Watson here? Yeah, I am. You're like, that's too early. That's too early. It isn't. It isn't too early. I know you're used to the names. Jahan Dotson, great player, by the way. Olave, great player. David Bell, ultra productive. I love John Mechie. I love the potential of George Pickens. Christian Watson looked really good. I think will be really good. Jalen Tolbert is going to go high as well. As we get to the Lions, I think this is a receiver. This is a take your pick right here. Took Nakobe Dean, took Malik Willis. Now we need, I think, our prototypical X receiver. I don't think that's Amon-Ra St. Brown. I like him. I think he's more of a Z. So what do we do? I kind of want to go George Pickens here. I think Jalen Tolbert's on the table. I know you're like, why not Olave, Dotson, Bell? They're so good. Yeah, do I have a Big Ten bias? Maybe. I like them. I just don't. Listen, I don't know that Olave is your receiver one. I think he's got a better chance than, or at least for what the Lions need, than Dotson, who I like as a player a lot. Like, do not get me wrong. Bell has a chance because of his size. Size is important. I love Becci. Another injury. Love Pickens' potential. Do I think the Lions take a shot on the potential of George Pickens? Yeah, I do. George Pickens could have been the best receiver in this draft. Injury basically caused him to not play at all in this past season. But a healthy George Pickens is arguably the best receiver in the draft. I don't care. I do not care. That's how good he has the potential to be. We'll see if he unlocks that potential. I think he will end up going fairly high. I think he's someone that goes top 2 for sure, or in the top 2 rounds. As we get to the Jets at 35, we've taken Aiden Hutchinson. We've taken Derek Stingley. I said this was going to be an offensive lineman, and I'm going to stick to that. It's going to be a tackle. Let's go Bernard Ryman. He took his lumps at the Senior Bowl, that's for sure. But he's still a guy that's developing, that's learning the position, really. He's only played it for a couple years. Ryman was a receiver out of Austria, turned tight end, turned offensive tackle, all in the span of like 4 years. We talked about him a lot over this past year. It is Ryman. I've been saying Raymond for a while. It is Ryman. And yeah, I think you can potentially even move him inside the guard. But I think if things work out the way you want, that's your franchise right tackle. As we get to the Giants at 36, taking Kayvon Thibodeau and taking Charles Cross. The Giants are in the situation of, once again, best player available pretty much. Although, I do probably want to focus on linebacker. I like Christian Harris. You know who I like a little bit more? Leo Chenal is great too. But it's Quay Walker. Like Quay Walker a ton. I mean, this Georgia defense is going to have a lot of players drafted. I think we're going to see the ones that have already gone. It's going to be too weird to just go through it. I'm just going to do it by memory. We're going to see George Pickens drafted on offense. We're going to see James Cook, the running back, drafted. We are going to see on defense Devontae Wyatt, defensive tackle. Jordan Davis, defensive tackle. We're going to see Quay Walker, linebacker. We're probably going to see Channing Tindall, linebacker. We're going to see Nakobe Dean, linebacker. I think we're going to see... Well, we already saw the edge Trayvon Walker go at the end. Adam Anderson didn't enter the draft. We're going to see Darian Kendrick, a corner, get drafted. We're going to see Lewis Seen, a safety, get drafted. The entire Georgia defense pretty much will be drafted. A lot of them are very good players, and I think we're going to see a lot of them go in the top 3 rounds. Texans at 37. We went with tackle earlier. I think we can once again go with potentially the best player available. And I don't even know who that necessarily is at that point, or at this point. Kind of weird. I don't know that it's Cameron Thomas. I can't really trust the predictive board. I've just got to go off of what I think. What would the Texans do? It's going to be probably the same defense with Lovie Smith as head coach. He was their coordinator last year. I think Myjai Sanders makes the most sense given that information. Sanders is a good player. Was really good for the Bearcats this past year. Past 2 years, really. And I think he's going to go top 50. A lot of edge rushers, I think, are going to go real high. This could be a number of different guys, but we're going with Myjai Sanders there. As the Jets are back on the clock, they have so many high picks. Once again, I feel like it's best player available. We have not taken a receiver, though. And I think the Jets are going to take a receiver at some point. There are a bunch of really good ones available. There really are. I like Olave or Dotson here for the Jets. I mean, they have Elijah Moore, who I like a lot. Denzel Mims is kind of... Corey Davis can be an outside guy. He could be your X. And then if you have Elijah Moore as your slot guy, I mean, Olave or Dotson works here, really. I'm going to go with Chris Olave. I think he's going to test pretty well, and I think he's like your perfect Z receiver. Offers you a little bit of speed as well. Can be your deep threat guy. I think he does a lot for the offense, actually. So Olave at 38. That feels like something that really could happen as we get to the Bears at 39. Could replace Allen Robinson with this pick. Really could. Offensive line needs a lot of work, though. Petit Frere. Darian Kennard, maybe. Dylan Parham, I like a bit. Ed Ingram was pretty good at the Senior Bowl, too. What do we do here? Could go even Max Mitchell. Ooh, do I take Max Mitchell here? Yeah, I'm going to. Max Mitchell could be your starting left tackle. I think that's what you're going for there if you take him. You know, you have hopefully your big-time right tackle of the future in Tevin Jenkins. This is your left tackle, Max Mitchell. Broncos at 40. Took an edge rusher earlier in Jermaine Johnson. I think this is still a team that could take quarterback, and that's what we're going to do here with Desmond Ridder sitting on the board. Big body, pretty big arm. Again, look good at the Senior Bowl. I think this is a guy who reads defenses particularly well, maybe better than anybody else in the class. That's going to be extremely valuable to teams. I think he could go even earlier because of this. But top 40, you know, top end of the second round, like I think that's pretty believable, pretty reasonable for Desmond Ridder. Seahawks on the board for the first time. They just waste these picks every year. They really do. But we are going to go corner. And do we keep Kyler Gordon in Washington? Why not? UW, long drive to Seattle facilities there. Probably about 10 minutes. But Washington football team, Washington Commanders at 42. Took a quarterback earlier. I think we go offensive line here. Let's go Nicholas Petit-Frere. Let's not overthink it. He didn't really handle Aiden Hutchinson very well. And I mean, neither did a lot of guys, to be fair. But we were talking about him like a top, 25 player in the draft, first round guy. And then he kind of got cooked. I think he's still pretty good. I think he's probably a second round guy more than the first round guy. Washington football team needs to upgrade O-line. Get Sam Cosmi back at left tackle. Petit-Frere, we know, can play right tackle. Maybe you want to keep him at left tackle. Keep Cosmi at right. You can do a number of different things. We're going edge here. Or are we? No, I'm going to go Devontae Wyatt. Keep the Georgia in Georgia. Devontae Wyatt's really, really good. And they could use some help on that D-line. Still think they need to take edge. This could be an edge rusher. For sure it could be. But we're going defense. And they pick again. They go edge at 58. I mean, I wouldn't worry about it too much, the order in a mock draft. Browns at 44. This could be an edge too. Their interior defensive line needs a lot of work though. So what do we want to do here? Who makes the most sense? I think Travis Jones does. Just as a space eater. He's a monster too. Travis Jones at a UConn. Big dude. 6'4", 330. Space eater. People mover. Travis Jones is really fun. Also was great at the Senior Bowl. And the Browns really, really need a player like him. Was not working with Malik Jackson. That's for sure. Ravens at 45. Took edge rusher earlier. Think this could be guard maybe. Guard with tackle flexibility. Or what do you call him? Tackle with guard flexibility. Right tackle Darian Kennard from Kentucky. We're going to take him. A lot of people view him as a guard, but has a history of playing right tackle at Kentucky. And listen, the Ravens need that. So I think that works out quite a lot. Vikings back on the clock. Took corner earlier. This one's a little weird because I don't think I'm taking a safety here. I don't really think they need to take interior defensive line. They have Michael Pierce. They have Dalvin Tomlinson. I don't really think that's super pressing. Linebacker, I would probably take first. And I know Anthony Barr. I know Eric Hendricks. They're not getting any younger. Safety is actually, certainly in play. Receiver, Thielen's getting older. You have Justin Jefferson. Your receiver 3. Going forward, I think Amir Smith-Marset could eventually be that. Maybe. But obviously they have some other guys. They had a receiver that most of you guys probably couldn't even name that had over 600 yards this year. Oh yeah, they have D.D. Westbrook, but KJ Osborne, I don't mean to be like disrespectful to you guys or KJ Osborne, but this is not a household name, right? 2020 5th round pick, but did have 655 yards, 7 touchdowns. Better than you'd expect, but they passed the ball quite a bit. So I don't know. What do you do here if you're Minnesota? They're in an interesting spot. Is this best player available? Do we go with a safety? Do we take a do-it-all player in Jalen Petrie? Petrie's fun. It's just I don't know where to mock him. It's consistently like I don't know where he fits because he's not necessarily like a nickel corner. I could see him like be that overhang defender. I don't know that he's a true safety. He's definitely not a linebacker, but he does his best work near the line of scrimmage. He just moves all around. He's kind of like Budda Baker in terms of usage. Am I talking myself into it for the Vikings? I kind of am. Let's do it. Let's go Jalen Petrie. He's awesome. He really is a fun player. Let's get to the Colts at 47. First pick in this draft for the Colts. Going Roger McCreary, maybe the best man corner in the draft. Maybe. Shorter arms, plays really physical. And the Colts just really need help at corner. Like Rocky Scene hasn't been amazing. Kenny Moore was great in the nickel, but he's a slot corner. You need a boundary guy. Roger McCreary could be that guy. 48 for the Chargers. I'm going linebacker. Christian Harris is good. Brian Asamoah looked great at the Senior Bowl. Chad Muma is a great athlete. Troy Anderson's an amazing athlete. I'm going to go Leo Chenal. Really good player. Blitz specialist. And we're beefing up just the straight front seven. We're going big. We're going big with Jordan Davis. 6'6", 340 he's listed at. I thought he was 330. He might be even more than that, to be honest. And then we're going big with Leo Chenal. I think he's even taller than 6'2". I thought he was like 6'3", but he is 250. I thought he was even 260. Yeah, Wisconsin has him at 260. So big dude, can blitz, can do a lot of different things well, like Leo Chenal. I like a bunch of these linebackers though. I like Asamoah, I like Harris, I like Muma, I like Anderson, I like Brandon Smith. He's a fantastic athlete. Beavers is good too. Beavers is just like not what I would consider a true like linebacker. Like he's more of like a hybrid guy where I think you line him up like on the edge frequently. As we get to the Saints at 49, went with quarterback earlier. I think people are not going to be excited about Sam Howell, but Sam Howell's good. He's got potential. He's got to just, develop and get coached up like all young quarterbacks. But we got to give him some weapons, right? Let's go receiver. Going Jahan Dotson. Really, really good player. I think if Michael Thomas ultimately comes back at some point in his career, Dotson would be a really good receiver too. Really strong hands, decent route runner, and has the ability to catch way out of his frame. Large catch radius for a smaller guy. Dolphins at 50. Could this be a receiver again? We go Jalen Tolbert. Big body. I think he offers you something that you currently don't really have there in Miami, which is a big-bodied deep threat. Now you have Preston Williams, who I like. You have Devontae Parker, who's fine. And you have Jalen Waddle, who is electric, but he's not the big body that Jalen Tolbert is, obviously. And they're building a Jalen team in Miami anyway. Jalen Tolbert, Jalen Waddle, Jalen Phillips. Get all the Jalens. Eagles at 51. Let's review their draft history. Devin Lloyd, Garrett Wilson, George Karlaftis, first pick of the second round. Where do we go here? Yeah, I can see us being a corner for sure. Especially with the corners on the board. I think we're going to just go Kaiir Elam and not even think twice about it. Really good player. Injuries are a problem. That's kind of what I got for you. Wasn't really thrown out a ton in Florida. When you watch him play, it's like a lot of reps of just mirroring, and that's it. You don't really see a ton of opportunities to make plays on the ball, which is good. Don't really want your CB1 being thrown at. Means they're doing their job. Steelers at 52. Went tackle earlier. I still think we go O-line, but man, corner is pretty bad. We're going to go Darion Kendrick here. Or what does he go by? Is it DJ? DJ Kendrick? DR maybe? It's DK Kendrick. DK Kendrick. So, yeah, Darion Kendrick is definitely good. He got kicked out of his previous school, Clemson. Was good there. Went to Georgia. Was really good last year. I think is probably going to be a guy that goes in the first few rounds, despite the potential character concerns involved with being kicked out of a school. Raiders at 53. He was really, I think, kicked off the football team. But Raiders at 53. Went interior offensive line earlier. I could buy interior defensive line. There are a bunch of really good players available. Let's go DeMarvin Leal. He's played some edge for Texas A&M. He's really an interior defensive lineman. And I think given the chance to do that full time, I think he's going to be better than what he showed in 2021 on tape. So big upside player here at 53. And the Raiders have gotten a couple falling stars in the past couple drafts. We're looking at Trayvon Merrick, now DeMarvin Leal. Pats at 54. Went corner in the first. Think we go receiver here. And man, a lot of really good options. Justin Ross, still a good option. I like John Mechie a ton. I really do. I mean, he's just such an easy separator. Really good route runner. I think he does everything pretty well. I don't know why I'm higher on John Mechie, it seems, than everybody else. But I think he's a really solid player. And, why not take a really solid player? Like, I think that's certainly worthy of a second round pick. Cardinals at 55. Could this be the first tight end spot off the board? Could this be the first running back off the board? I think we're going to go running back, and we're going to go one that is really going to fit. Isaiah Spiller catches the football really well out of the backfield. Really good player, and the Cardinals could use a better pass-catching running back than James Conner. Kind of plain and simple on that one. Cowboys at 56. This is going to be the first tight end. It's going to be Trey McBride out of Colorado State. Dalton Schultz, I believe, is a free agent. Got to look to replace him. Blake Jarwin's there, but this is yet another white tight end for the Cowboys I can make fun of by calling him Blake Jarwin, or calling him Jeff Swaim, or calling him Jason Witten even. So I like that. Bills at 57. I think we're going to go corner. And who do I like the most here? Tariq Woolen is a crazy good athlete. I like Martin Emerson. He's definitely good. Marcus Jones could go second round. Oh, the Bills could like a player like him with return chops. Big time return man. Kobe Bryant was really good last year. Let's go Kobe Bryant. Why not? Thorpe Award winner. We're going Kobe Bryant. Bills could upgrade their secondary. Guys are getting older. Contracts are expiring. We obviously love Tre'Davious White around here, but there's not a whole lot else. And yeah, I know, like, there are some decent players. Former Alabama walk-on, undrafted. Like, great story. It's a great story for Levi Wallace, but I think you can do better, and you can really never have too many corners is kind of what this comes down to. Falcons at 58. We still haven't taken an edge rusher. There's still so many good ones available. I'm gonna go Boye Mafe. Could be a first round guy. He could sneak in. Real shot. Was awesome at the Senior Bowl. Was awesome at Minnesota. He's just a really good player, and I kind of want him to go a little bit earlier, but this is just how it played out. Packers at 59. Do we take a receiver here finally? It would be a really good fit for them. Romeo Doubs. Romeo Doubs looked explosive at the Senior Bowl. More than I thought he would be. He's just a really good player. I think he's going to go earlier than people think. Bucks at 60. We went, Perry and Winfrey earlier? Yes. Bucks are a tough team to mock for. Because, I mean, Tom Brady's not there anymore. But do they take a QB back end of the first? I mean, you took Kyle Trask in the second round. Maybe you think he's going to be your guy. Step in for a year. Could be. We're going to go receiver here as well, though. And people are going to be mad I'm leaving David Bell on the board. I just don't. I think he's a guy that does everything pretty well, nothing exceptionally well. And I think that kind of hurts his value. I'm sorry. I know David Bell's a fan favorite just because he was ultra productive at Purdue. Played there for a number of years. But I don't know that he's this amazing draft prospect. I think he's going to be a good player. I just don't. I have questions about him being a great player. I know he's not a great prospect, but he's certainly really good. Does he go here to the Bucks? I just don't think so. I don't think so. I don't know. And if he doesn't go here, he doesn't go round 2 is the thing. Because I'm not going to have the 49ers, Chiefs, Bengals, or Broncos take receiver. So this is going to be the last receiver of the second round. You know what? I'll throw you a bone. David Bell. I know you in particular watching this right now, big David Bell fan, are going to be upset if David Bell doesn't go in my make-believe draft. 49ers for the first time here in the draft, here in the second round. 61. What do we do if we're the Niners? That secondary is not great. I think it's got to be corner more than anything. I don't know who I like here the most. I mean, Jack Jones is an interesting player. I don't think he goes second round. We're going to go with a big-time athlete. Tariq Woolen. He can fly. That's all I can say. He can fly. Chiefs at 62 went receiver earlier. Got to get pass rush. Still a bunch of great options. I'm going to go Arnold Ebiketie. I don't know why I'm leaving some of these guys on the board. I think they're good. It's just the way it's kind of working out. Like, it's a really deep edge class. Bengals at 63. Took guard earlier in Zion Johnson. Let's go Logan Hall. He can be an edge rusher. He can be an interior guy. He's just a good player. And the Bengals, who were in the Super Bowl, are still getting better. I don't know if they've even reached their ceiling as a team. And I know they haven't. But that doesn't mean they're going to make it back to the Super Bowl. We'll see. Broncos at 64. Last pick of this mock draft. We went quarterback. We went edge. This was Jermaine Johnson and Desmond Ridder. Now, I think linebacker's a huge need. And I left a bunch of really good linebackers on the board. Like, I think Muba goes fairly early. I think Anderson's probably a third-round guy. Jesse Luketa, man. He's more of an edge to me. That's interesting that he's listed at linebacker. Brian Asamoah is great. Christian Harris is really good. I want to take Asamoah to be a little different here because I think he's good. I want to show him some love. But Christian Harris, I think, will go earlier. It's tough. Mock drafts are always interesting because they're just inevitably, if there are risers, there will be guys that fall a little bit. So that is my 2-round mock draft. A bunch of crazy things. Who are the biggest risers here that I drafted early? Maybe Tariq Woolen, Kobe Bryant, Leo Chenal, maybe. Certainly Travis Jones is a riser. I drafted Christian Watson very high, but I think he's really good, and I think he's exactly what the Jaguars need. I think it's just fit. And then some other guys like Daniel Faalele, Perrion Winfrey sneak into the first round. Yeah, this was a fun draft. Definitely some weird picks, but that's a draft for you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.
It's insane, I hit it at the park, bend bones. See me high step to the end zone. My life like a game, Nintendo. Playing with the best, let them know. Get off the track, the train's coming through. Yeah, promise you get in my way, then you best believe I'ma just run over you. Yeah, yeah. I'ma turn taking it back to the house. Defensive joke, I'm laughing so loud. Speedbird's good.